This is Start, Grow, Manage, where we help managed service providers achieve the impact, freedom, and wealth you imagined back when you started your company. At Start, Grow, Manage, our tools, practices, and processes help you engage, energize, and execute on building a business that empowers an extraordinary life. Learn more about our programs and how they can fuel your fire at startgrowmanage.com/learn more. Let's go.
Gavin, have you met my partner, Jeff?
I don't think we have ever met. Gavin,
No, I don't think so. Nice to meet you, sir.
Great to meet you, Gavin. So we obviously want to talk about Augmentt, but I'd love to hear about some of the stories that got you here, Enable, and the other exciting adventures along the path, and understand a little bit of your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, I've actually never worked for anybody, except for when I was in high school and the beginning of university. I was a bellhop at a big summer resort hotel.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah, I got in lots of trouble. But that's where I met my wife also. So good things happen. So,
That's the kind of trouble you kept getting in.
you know what? I started off in the, actually, funnily enough, in the fitness industry. When I was very young, had a chain of health clubs, 9 clubs. And after we had our first child, I sold out of that and I got into financial services. And myself and a couple of colleagues, we created an organization in Ottawa called the Business Planning Group. And we had an accounting firm, a law firm, financial services, which I owned, an insurance brokerage firm, which I owned, and a venture capital.
Oh, cool.
Which
I like that idea.
Yeah, and so we were about 60 people, and we would provide full accounting, legal, financial services to technology companies was our primary focus. Then one of my early ventures was an industrial semiconductor company, which we grew from 15 to 540 employees, took it public, then sold it to a South Korean company, big industrial semiconductor company. So that was fun. Then got into the software after that in the mid-late 90s. And it was actually AI related software, funnily enough, now that AI all of a sudden is popular, and I chuckle because AI has been around forever. It's just the implementation of it.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Now everybody's interested in AI with these large language models, right? But actually AI has been doing interesting stuff for a long time.
We sold our company to IBM just before the .com crash.
Well done.
Got a little lucky. And started Enable actually after that. And that was September of 2000. So right in the middle of the explosion. And everybody said, oh my God, are you insane starting a technology company? Like tech will never come back. And I believe and still do that everything is a cycle. And by nature, people want to achieve more and improve themselves and their lifestyle. And so they will invest and do more. Enable was a really interesting one to start because I had just finished with these 2 companies, this industrial semiconductor and the software company. And I was looking for my next venture. And it was funny, it was Christmas time and it was at a cocktail party. And I was chatting with this VAR who did about a $10 million a year turnover. And I said to this guy, Larry, what's the one thing you could do to your business going into next year that could really improve it? And going into the millennium 2000 and big deal. And he said, geez, we're a couple of cocktails in, of course. And he said,
That's my favorite time to have this kind of conversation.
he said, if I could only monitor my customers' IT so that I wouldn't have to roll a truck every time there was a problem, or at least I could roll the truck with the right part. Not drive out, see what's wrong, drive back, get the part, drive back and fix it. And I said, oh, that's crazy. What if you could actually remotely fix stuff also? And he said, oh, stop it.
Yeah, I can imagine him saying, no, I don't want to do that.
He actually did. So this was the funny part. And so I said, what about HP OpenView, CA Unicenter, IBM Tivoli, like lots of enterprise solutions for this. And he said, yeah, but you don't understand. Those are enterprise solutions. They're not multi-tenant. They're too complex. They're too expensive.
Yeah.
And I said, what? Get the heck out of here. I said, this is too big a good an opportunity I said, so what about other VARs? What would they think? He said, oh, that they love it. They love it. So I went out and interviewed 20 VARs and they go, are you crazy? Do you see this screwdriver? I'm a hero when I show up with my screwdriver. Stuff remotely? What's wrong with my business model? I'm a numbers guy. What, if you don't mind my asking, what's your profit margin? Like, what's your labor cost? What do you do when you get to the office first in the morning? Oh, I put out fires. I never know who's going where. I'm going, like, are you guys crazy? You need this. Anyway, so all 20 VARs that I interviewed said, no, I like my screwdriver. And I said, but what if you could take your business from a 0 to 3% EBITDA business to a 30% EBITDA business? Would that, oh, really? Is that possible? And we started Enable knowing that the market did not want the product. Created the first multi-tenant remote monitoring and management platform for the channel, knowing the channel did not want it, but knowing that I would bust their heads open to educate them that they needed to evolve from chaotic to proactive to managed services. And this was our whole track is go from reactive to proactive and then to managed services.
And I actually think that there's a good progression. We figure things out in life. We start reactive and then we start to get proactive and then we manage it before it happens. I think what you really identified there was we're moving in this trajectory and break fix is going to die. Paying for labor is going to die because we're just going to get smarter about how we do these things. Somebody's going to get smarter about how we do these things. Right? Because it's like sitting right there. The opportunity is right there. Eventually, they're either going to want to get smarter or those who don't want to get smarter aren't going to have businesses anymore. So I think it's a great observation of the trend in the market and then putting together a solution behind that, even if people aren't clear yet that they're going to need it.
It's all about productivity and profitability at the end of the day, right? It's like industrial semiconductors. We had fab plants and the silicone goes in here. And 2 weeks later, it comes out on the other end and nobody touched anything because we had robots that even back then we had robots that did the work. So Augmentt is literally Enable 2.0. And this is remote monitoring, management, and security for Microsoft and SaaS applications. So IT has moved to the cloud. The network is the utility and the devices are just utility now. Like everybody has extra laptops now in their closet, in their office.
How many do you have, Joe, on your desk there?
I have two right here. I mean, just like literally sitting right next to me.
And people work on this as much as they work on their laptop or computers. So it's not about yes, you've got to manage and secure the devices for sure. But that's the utility, all the data and the rocket fuel of small and medium-sized enterprises are the applications. And if the applications are not operating, then everybody can go home or stay at home or go to the park and have a lovely day because you're not working if the applications aren't working. If your device isn't working, that's okay. Just pick up your phone and work on your phone. Doesn't matter. But if the applications aren't working and that's where all your data is and that's where the security breaches are happening, then at Enable, just before I sold it to SolarWinds, we were actually about to rebuild the platform. We'd done all the specs and we were going to add in SaaS security and SaaS management because in 13, I believed that was going to be the future. I was probably a little early, but certainly when we started Augmentt, which was right at the beginning of the pandemic, January of 2000, the pandemic for us was good because everybody moved out of the offices and this is the next journey for managed service providers. It's managing and securing cloud services / SaaS applications. And Microsoft is the biggest and most important one of those to the channel. That's the one they have to figure out first because they do a terrible job today managing Microsoft. Like it was fine when it was a small business server in the office because you could lock down the server. Today, you have to actually go in tenant by tenant and configure them. And then you have to log back in and make sure all the policies are continuing to be enforced. And none of them do it. Doesn't matter if you're a 500 person MSP they don't do it.
Or a 5% MSP.
So
Yeah.
this is basic RMM for Microsoft and SaaS applications. They should audit, identify, we call audit, protect, detect, and then remediate. So those are the principles that every MSP should be following. And we're providing them with the tools. Use your whatever enable, ConnectWise, Dado, RMM solution, Ninja, whatever it is for the devices. But then for the application layer and Microsoft, you need a multi-tenant remote monitoring and security platform, which is what we bring in.
Are you solving the problem of ensuring that these things work and ensuring that the security settings are up to date, of ensuring that the data are secure? Where is your niche in there, or is it all of the above?
It's three aspects to it. One, it's audit and monitoring and reporting of all application usage.
Whether they're my applications or not, or is it
Any
just
application that the employee touches, whether it's a desktop or a cloud service. So this allows them to audit all application usage across all of the employees and how much they're using the applications. Are they approved? Are they shadow IT? Are they secure applications? Are they HIPAA compliant or whatever vertical you're in? Have they been breached in the last 360 odd days? So you can understand what the applications are. Do they have duplicate applications? Do they have unused licenses? Do they have underutilized licenses? Are they using applications where the employee is taking corporate data and putting in those applications, and when the employee leaves, they leave with the data?
We were just talking with someone else, we're just talking about how much data actually get left in all of these systems. Not even that the employee is leaving with them, but they end up sitting in pick your application. The data are there.
Waiting to be breached. That's the kind of the wide, okay, let me understand from a security, productivity, cost management perspective, what are all the applications that my employees are using? Then there's security policy and posture management on Microsoft, which is being able to audit all the Microsoft tenants in a multi-tenant way, understand for all of your policies, whether it's MFA or passwords or least privilege access or whatever it happens to be, you can centrally configure, monitor, alert on any changes, and then remediate in the system. So it's that whole NIST, just what we talked about, NIST, it's the whole thing in a multi-tenant way. So you never again have to go into a tenant to check to see if MFA is set up. Because if it's not, it'll go to your PSA system, it'll give you a ticket, and you can go right into Augmentt and remediate across whatever 10, 20 customers all in one central dashboard.
I was going to say, what's brilliant about that as well is the report that's going to allow you to generate for your strategic business reviews, because that's come up a lot as well. Just the information, the insights you're able to provide your clients as a result of having these data.
So on the reporting side, it's twofold. We really spent a lot of time designing this secure product, and we had a lot of security consultants and MSPs advising us for a long time before we built it. And so there's multiple components to it. The first one is an audit. You set up all your tenants, like you have 100 tenants, they're all set up within 20 minutes. Boom, done. And now you get a report, you can see, okay, MFA across all of my customers. Oh, I need to go and fix all of these people, whatever it happens to be, security policies on whatever. You do this audit report, it's instant in the product when it's all your tenants are set up, and we do it as a freemium. Our partners can go to all their customers, all their prospects, and run this report, this audit report that shows them their security policies, their posture scores, their Microsoft identity score, their MFA scores, and pretty graphs about who's trying to get in from what countries in the world and who are they coming in against, like right down to the individual, what the threats are and who the threats are against. So this is, we call it the holy poop report, because you show this to the customer, you say, Mr. Customer, look how bad your environment is. Here's the trend of issues happening. Here's all your scores. Like, we need to fix this. And we have a premium security program, Microsoft security program. It'll cost you an extra $10 per month, and we will monitor and configure and audit, detect, protect, your Microsoft security policies across the board for you.
It sounds really impressive. How's the response been? People like it?
Yeah, we grew last year by 1,300%.
Oh, so
got
you're
over
going after
1 million.
small growth then, just a
Yeah,
little.
yeah, it's just a little bit.
And we're only at the early stage of adoption. So
Okay.
I believe by the end of this year, beginning of next, we'll be in the early majority, where every MSP will say, I get it. I have to monitor my customers' Microsoft security policies, and I have to be able to report on it, to your point. And the system, you can just automatically have it spit out monthly reports to show everything you've done for them.
One of the things that I love about you, Gavin, is that you understand reporting. I remember when I was using Enable back in the day, I started in 2002, and I remember how much money I made from those reports. Because not only were they well laid out and they had pretty graphs and they had all the stuff, but there was usable, tangible information that I could show the client and go, here's what we need to fix. And here's why. And here's where you're going strategically. And this is why this is important to what you're doing. And so I know that if you're building a report engine, it's going to be kick ass because I've had good times with you.
We have over 100 technical advisors and that we do quarterly calls with. And so it's not about us being smart. It's us about being smart enough to listen. And then we've got phenomenal product management and development people.
I want to talk about that, right? What do we need to do in terms of a community to get MSPs to do what you just said?
Listen better.
Yeah, because I think that is a missing key ingredient in the MSP community. They're trying to talk, and they're not listening, and they're missing just immense opportunities. Two things that they're not doing. One, and this is our mantra over here, right? Agnostic is where MSPs go to die. You gotta get really niche. The more niche you get, the more money you make. And then once you get really niche, you really have to listen. So what's your advice on that? Because you've built some amazing businesses by doing just that.
Well,
what do you tell these guys?
It's understanding your customer better than they understand themselves, not from a technical perspective, because who cares? Honestly, what kind of laptop you have or what kind of a server you have, like, who cares? That is the utility. What's the catalytic converter in your engine? You don't know. You don't care.
And I don't care.
What is important, like the rocket fuel of every small and medium-sized business and small and medium-sized enterprise, is their applications which enable their employees and their customers to be successful. And in turn, the company is successful. So what an MSP, if they want to be a trusted IT advisor, which I believe consulting and being the trusted IT advisor is what every MSP should lead with. And that means you have to go in and you have to have a business conversation, not a technical conversation. Mr. SMB, so great. You're in the manufacturing business. You create these widgets. Would you mind telling me a little bit about your company and what are your key aspirations for next year? Are you trying to grow internationally? Are you trying to get more productive with your team members? Are you trying to win specific types of customers? Please help me understand what you're trying to do as a business. The person will talk to you for half an hour about what they're trying to do for their business because that's what excites them. And they don't want to talk initially about security. They don't want to talk about technology necessarily. They want to talk about how they're going to go and win more business and make their team members more productive and be the best solution in the world for their customers. And that's the conversation that MSPs need to have initially. And then bringing that around, okay, so you mentioned these 4 things that you want to do. And do you think you have the right technology stack from an application layer, a security perspective to go out and execute on that, Mr. Customer? I don't know. And every business owner will say, I don't know, because they don't. Or do you know what applications are most effective in your business? Do you know what employees are using as applications? Are they all sanctioned?
Yeah.
Are they secure? I don't know. Would you like us to do an audit and look at this for you and provide you with a proper analysis and some recommendations? That probably makes sense. And it's starting off with the business conversation, actively listening to the customer about what their goals and objectives are, and then understanding how your recommended security stack and technology stack can help them achieve those goals and objectives. Because if it doesn't align to their business goals and objectives, what are you doing in there? What's the point?
Yeah.
Because they don't care.
What's interesting that I've found is that people are nervous about having the business conversation. Everybody wants to fall back into the technology that I'm used to. And there's reluctance to have the business conversation. We actually teach people, we give them a format. These are the questions you have to ask. I think that's probably an indication that it's the right way to go, just because if you have the business conversation, now you really have to think about how the technology is going to help them, right? Not just here's the technology and I'm going to impress you with lots of 3-letter acronyms, but here's the technology that's really going to help you to grow your business, to do the things that you want to do. And to a certain extent, that means that you're putting your ass on the line a little bit. It's like you're actually making claims that you're going to do something, right?
I'll give you 2 scenarios that businesses that started with in the old days of the early days of managed services. Caltech was a 5-person organization in Texas, had a nice little business, and they wanted to verticalize in financial service companies. They grew it to 180-ish MSP focused on financial services. They had airplanes, they fly and go bone fishing, they take nice family holidays. They have highly successful businesses, and they just sold very recently, and they're happily retired now. And another one is a company, Corsica, started with us, and they were also about a 4-person MSP, and they grew to over 200. I'm not sure what they are today, but then Dale sold. And again, both of these people understood their customers and their customers' business, and they sold them business solutions, not technology solutions. So they aligned IT with the business goals and objectives. They grew massive businesses, and they sold and retired happily, making huge amounts of money.
Like you said, is really understanding that vertical. And I like what you said, listen actively. And really, folks out there, that means you're taking notes and you're trying to understand their business problem. And the problem of being agnostic is that if you're trying to understand everybody's business problem, you're in deep poop. You're in deep poop.
And Joe, your point about take notes, honestly, take notes. Have a notebook, take notes, because when you take notes, people think you're taking them seriously.
I'm actually going to go a little further. I'm going to say not only should you take notes so that you give the perception that you're interested in taking them seriously, but if you take them seriously,
But you actually take them seriously.
There's actually a lot of value in that too.
My memory is not good enough not to take notes.
I always have my notebook with me, and I'm always taking notes. Why you want to do that is you want to really capture what their issue is so that you can really say it back to them. And if you're not taking notes, all you're doing is listening to respond. You're not listening to learn. Because what'll happen is if you're actually taking notes, you'll be like, oh, hold on 1 second. I have a question about this. Because you're trying to understand. And you look at your own note, you're like, I don't understand that. What does that mean? Can you tell me a little bit more? And it's nearly impossible to do that across a multitude of verticals, because you just can't wrap your head around that many different problems, especially if you're a small MSP, 4 or 5 people. You want to be able to get your head around the same problem over and over again, so that by the 15th or 20th time that you see that problem, you can start telling them, oh, and you probably see this. Oh, and you probably see that. And they're like, yeah, I got that. You got a camera in my office?
Absolutely, Joe. The people who certainly grow the fastest are the people who have verticalized in their specialization. It doesn't mean it just has to be one vertical. It could be a couple of verticals. Don't try to be all things to all people, because that just doesn't work. And I couldn't agree with you more that know your customer better than they know themselves, and be the trusted advisor, IT business advisor.
Good, good. So what do you got for these guys? What can you say to them when they say, but if I do that, and this is the number one pushback that I get, I'm going to miss out on all these other opportunities, and I'm afraid to scare people away.
If I was an MSP, I would be focused on cloud services. Yes, I do the utility, being the network and devices, for sure. But we all know routers and switches and servers, the gravy train of profitability for managed services, it's all going to the cloud. And you're not managing that Microsoft small business server anymore. You're not managing a whole bunch of those servers in your colo facility. So all of that cash is going, and that's why MSPs pivoted to security, because you had to be selling something and security seemed like the next big thing. Yeah. And my contention to MSPs is that's great, but small and medium-sized businesses are spending 25% more on the application layer than they are on the device layer. And device sales were down last quarter by 28%, and cloud services were up by 25%. So it's a bigger number growing fast versus a smaller number shrinking quickly.
Yeah. So I like that, because then the thing to do is, how do I get my vertical and solve the problem out there in the cloud? And what are the cloud solutions that are out there that are helping my people solve their problem? Because Jeff always says that you're either moving away from something or towards something, and they're moving away from the infrastructure, moving toward the cloud. And I actually heard somebody say something the other day, which is the cloud is almost over. The next thing is going to be like the AI and all that stuff. Like, what are you providing there in terms of services? So that's going to be like the next frontier. I think we're probably 4 or 5 years out from it. But
so if I thought of the evolution of IT, go back to the 80s, and it was small storefront computer shops. Then it became value-added resellers. Then in the late 90s, it was IT service providers. And then in the early 2000s, it comes in managed services. And everybody starts adopting remote monitoring and management and PSA solutions so that they can improve productivity, remotely monitor and manage, and secure their customers' environment. Great, device level. Now that's being extended to the application layer. So that now 2022, COVID happens, everybody goes remote, the world has changed. And the network is now, as we say, the utility, the cloud applications are the rocket fuel for companies. And companies want to grow and improve their business. And yeah, somebody take care of that security thing for me. But you know what? That's close to the catalytic converter. Somebody's got to take care of it, but I want to grow my business and I want to improve my employees' productivity, because I have to be competitive to attract employees and to go and win new business. And I need to give the best user experience for my employees and my customers. And that happens all at the application layer.
Just a quick little segue. I think it's interesting. Chris Anderson wrote about 10, 15 years ago. He wrote about the end of the scientific method, about the end of understanding how things work. And when I was listening to you talk about the progression of things from computer shop to where we are today, what he was saying was big data just enables us to do things even though we don't understand why they work or what they are or how they function. So we spend all this scientific time trying to figure out the why and the how. Whereas if we just use big data and just say, just do this and it's going to work out fine. And we might have no idea what it is, right? But what I think of when we're talking about this, like that evolution, when I hear you talk, I hear a little bit of echoes of that, of this idea of, well, the next iteration may be just, we don't even understand how it all works. We don't even understand where it all is. We just have the models to be able to say, this is what's next. This is what you need to do in order to actually effectively run your business, which may be an interesting place for us to be.
Jeff, I think eventually it will. The next step to me for managed services is, okay, you've secured the network and the devices, that's great, and you manage them for your customers. Now you need to start helping your customers manage and secure their cloud services. Yeah. First one being Microsoft. Like you need to go in and help your customers onboard employees, offboard employees, set up their passwords, set up MFA, all of that kind of stuff, all the security policies, posture management and stuff, as well as the administration of the Microsoft licenses. And then what's going to happen, so MSPs are starting to do this in droves. They'll start off with the one application, then they'll figure out, because they specialize in verticals, what are the key top 5 applications that dentists need, lawyers need, doctors need. And they will specialize in those 5 applications, much like they used to do in the hardware business, right?
Yeah. So this is
It's
gonna,
exactly the same situation for the application layer.
That's
Mr.
interesting.
Customer, I will help you onboard your employees, offboard your employees, set up all of their passwords, MFA management across all your key applications. I will do the full administration and security of those key applications. And then we will monitor and report and secure all of the other application usage in your environment. So then they'll charge per seat, per app, to their customers to manage it, just like they did before for devices, but now this will be the new revenue stream for the administration and the securitization of applications. And then the next phase is exactly what you're talking about, where AI will step in, and this might be 10 years from now, where I'll be a doctor and I'll say, hello, computer, what are the key applications I should have? You should have this and this. Great, can you please set me up for my 5 employees? Yes. Please enter the name, sex, age, whatever of these employees, and you'll enter it in your computer, and poof, all the apps will be set up. All your security policies will be set up. And yes, now that's 10 years down the road. So MSPs, make hay while the sun shines, because now's your opportunity to be that trusted IT business advisor.
So 2 things. One, if we think that it's 10 years down the road, it's probably more like 6 months, just saying. And then the other thing is, one thing that I've learned about everything is the need for services is likely not going to go away. But if you just sit back and expect the way that you did it yesterday to determine the way you do it tomorrow, that's where it's not going to work, right?
Yeah.
There's going to have to be these transitions that we make. And frankly, we see some of our clients now using AI, training AI on their own data sets to then use the AI to come up with solutions and come up with processes and come up with answers to questions, but just based on their own information. So anyway, I think it's certainly going to be interesting. I think given the speed of change, it's going to be faster than we expect. But on that, Gavin, before we go any further, I want to just have a quick conversation with you about how people get started with you, whom you work with. Is it just big MSPs? Is it small MSPs? Like, who can work with you? How do they get started? What's life like in your world?
So our partners range from 3-person MSPs to 700-person MSPs. My advice to all managed service providers is you need a multi-tenant solution to at least monitor and administer MFA across all of your customers, at the very least. If that's all you want to use this for, fantastic. But then I do believe that you should audit every single customer's security, and it takes seconds. The report's automatically generated. You show it to the customer, show them everything that's wrong, help them improve their security. You're proactively, again, monitoring, configuring, remediating any changes across all of their security policies, alerting, all that kind of stuff, and then reporting. And then you can be auto-generating monthly reports to them to show them all the great things you're doing. Any MSP, our price point for entry is $250 a month, super cheap. And you can use your license across customers. You can do unlimited security, Microsoft security audit reports across all customers, all prospects. There is no reason anybody should have weak Microsoft security policies, because we let you report on 1 million companies if you want for free. This is the easiest way to sell premium security services for the MSP, and it's the easiest way for them to, because our system has all the built-in processes, rules engines, so you can have an administrative level person doing the security administration and management across all of your customers, where you used to have a level 3 or level 2 engineer. Again, it's back to the RMM days. A technician can manage about 150 Microsoft seats. Using our platform, they can do between 600 and 1,000 seats.
Wow.
And our goal is to get it up to 2,000 seats per tech with automation that's coming out in the next couple of months. So this whole idea is about, how do you have a tech and you're charging X number of dollars per seat for your administration of security services? How do you have a junior tech 5 times, 6 times the number of seats they can manage? And because that's going to fall to your bottom line and your profitability. And we want to get MSPs back up to 30, 40%. You remember being 40%
I
profit?
remember being 40% profit. I do. Then it went to 30, and then it went to 25, and then it went to 20, and then I'm like, I'm out.
And in SaaS security and SaaS management, this is the new frontier for MSPs. And the beauty of this time is that the customer has already adopted. The horse is out of the barn. And the fact that applications have gone up 700%, the number of applications in the last 5 years, and it's predicted to go up 10 times again. So the number of applications, meaning the complexity, is only going to get harder for companies to manage. So this is a real easy opportunity for MSPs to go in, extend traditional network managed services to cloud managed services and security services, and make great margins. Like our partners are making 90% plus gross profit on their services with us. So
I think that's brilliant. I love that it's an easy way to get started. I think you combine that with the strategic business review that we teach people to do, and then you've got something that's really going to help you up the margin, up the price. And I do think, look, it's the reason margins get squeezed is because you are commoditizing yourself, right? There's nothing different between you and the next guy. And so when there's nothing different, then it's impossible to maintain price. The price goes straight down. But these types of reports, the focus on the business, the getting to understand the depth of the business, this is a great way for MSPs to stand apart, support their margins, and create really happy customers, because customers are going to love this focus on their business and what they're doing. So I think it's great. Gavin, we'll put I think we have the links that we need to put them in the show notes for people to get started. And I see you have something to say, so I'm gonna let you say it before
it's just the other part that I really get excited about is our Discover module, which is that wide SaaS auditing and monitoring. Because the fun part is you go to the customer, say, do you know how many applications you're using? They say, oh, I don't know, 20-ish. We're a 40-person shop. You do the audit and it shows you, okay, here's the 20 that you thought you had, the approved list, and here's the 80 unapproved applications.
Everybody else is using.
And here are the employees that are using that. Would you like some of these to become approved? Should we be blocking some people from using Dropbox or Google Works or whatever? If you're a Microsoft shop, you have 25 Salesforce licenses and only 12 are being used. Do you think you should right-size your licensing? That could save you a bit of money. You have 3 different marketing applications that do exactly the same thing. Is that good spend? And inevitably, it's from a security, productivity, data protection, and compliance. So you talk about IT business conversation. That is an IT business conversation because you're helping the customer understand what the employees are doing. Are they on productive apps? Are you wasting money? And who doesn't want to save money in this day and age on your application stack and have your employees more productive and making sure your corporate data and your customers' corporate data is being protected. So that's a way to stand out from the crowd is you do the Discover security audit. No other MSP is probably doing it, and show the customer your business value that you bring to them. One thing I didn't mention, but we also have this thing called the Augmentt Academy, where we have complete sales, marketing, pricing, content assets for the website, for emails, for everything that an MSP needs to do to sell these cloud security services.
I love it. I think that's key. It's certainly that business value is what we preach. And Gavin, we appreciate your insights. It's great to speak to someone who's done this a few times, right? And has that wisdom and that insight to help the rest of us figure out how to make things work. So thank you for sharing that. I found it super valuable, super interesting. And it's been a real pleasure to chat with you, Gavin.
Jeff, Joe, it's absolutely my pleasure. And I'm sorry if I get a little overexcited. I just think this is super fun from the point of view that this is the next evolution of managed security services. And it's a massive opportunity for MSPs to go in and help their customers and stand out from the competition.
I think that sounds great. Good. So Gavin, again, thank you very much. I love the excitement, by the way. I think that's when it's interesting stuff. When we can't get it out fast enough, that's when we're on to something interesting. Joe, you want to end this?
Absolutely. The last thing for all of you out there is to remember that you are loved. See you soon.
Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one right now and tap into our insights and instincts to help drive your business vision and success. Remember, you didn't start your business to feel frustration. You started it for freedom. We can help you discover the impact, freedom, and wealth you always imagined. Learn more at startgrowmanage.com/learn more.